Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of the CupleofJoes podcast, where today we have a attempt number two. Attempt number one was not heard by the masses, of interviewing Integral Magazine CEO Aaron. Aaron, how are you doing, man?
Pretty good. If you'd learn how to record better, they could have heard our first interview, you know. But yeah, everything's going well.
Yeah, I blame that on my, not my recording skills, but rather my social ineptitude in conjunction with my recording skills because I had my microphone set on the wrong settings. But luckily, this whole Streamlabs thing is much more simple to record. All I have to do is press the record button, cut nothing out, and then strip the audio from the MP4, which is, there's websites to do this stuff.
My biggest complaint is the first time we did this interview, I went to Meijer and spent like a solid 5 minutes walking around the energy drink aisle trying to figure out what caffeinated beverage I wanted to review to replace Grant that week. And it just all went to waste. Now today, the only thing I've had is McDonald's vanilla iced coffee, which I'll review at the end like Grant does. I'm replacing Grant right now.
Oh, well, you just dated yourself because we switched up. We're at the beginning of the episode with the coffee reviews now, and we've been doing that for quite a while. So, fake friend, I don't know, man. What's going on here? The CEO, I've done the research on the CEO, but the CEO has not done research on me. Oh, well. If you want to go ahead and review that, though, I think this will be the first McDonald's coffee review that we've had.
I would say it was very watered down. So, my mom yesterday was like, Aaron, she yelled upstairs, and she was like, I got you something. I had no clue what it would be. She's like, I got you an iced coffee from McDonald's. So, I'm like, I've had way too much caffeine today already, because I chugged a Mountain Dew early in the morning, and then drank a full thermos of coffee already. So I had her put it in the refrigerator and I drank it this morning, but it was super watery.
Okay.
And I don't, it was super sugary. It was kind of like a vanilla milkshake from UDF, just thinner. I'm going to give it a solid 3.5 out of 10.
Apt. We've been cursed with some lower scores recently, so that fits in pretty well. Except I think we hit our first above 5 score from Grant for the episode that releases tomorrow, which I'm not sure when this one's going to release, probably this weekend. But yeah, we finally broke that streak. But you're bringing us back. No, it's interesting with McDonald's. I can't remember. So I used to work there, and I can't remember how they made the iced coffee. I think it was just you would actually mix the coffee up, and then you'd dump the coffee, like a bunch of cups of coffee, into the ice, and then you throw it in the refrigerator for a while and then pull it out the next day or something like that. But as far as the sugar goes, man, yeah, all those McDonald's beverages are absolutely disgusting.
When we lived at 2431, shout out to Pat, that's what he and I used to do. Pat's been referenced on this podcast before, I know. Justin's old roommate, my friend.
Yep.
We used to make iced coffee by doing that, so yeah, that's not surprising that McDonald's does that, but you said several cups of coffee. There was not several cups of coffee in what I had. It was weak as shit.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. I think, I can't remember exactly because I didn't work up front a whole lot. I was mostly a kitchen guy, slaving on the grill. But I believe it was just the same dispensers that you put the sweet tea in. You just put that there, but it was behind. Yeah, it was behind the counter. But what was really gross about McDonald's beverages is the iced tea. It was, you would make 3 gallons of tea, but it would be 4 pounds of sugar, and then a gallon of ice. So that is how sweet tea is made.
Are
at
you
McDonald's.
saying 4 pounds as like an exaggeration, or literally you measure out 4 pounds, like you weigh it and say, put this into the iced tea?
You take 1 pound bags
Jesus
of sugar
Christ.
and take it and you just dump it in there. And then you brew the tea, you brew it hot, and then you put it in there, and then you put a gallon of ice in. So then you're at 4 gallons total of like the level line is at 4 gallons. And then you throw that in the refrigerator, and then you run through those. And man, it's no wonder that people are addicted to that iced tea. That stuff is like crack because
Oh
of all the
yeah, I
sugar.
still remember that first summer when they made every drink like the largest size, $1. I used to go get like a sweet tea every day.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I still that's what I would always get because at my McDonald's that I worked at, Jerry Lewis McDonald, shout out, he owns like used to own like 17. I think he's down to 14 now.
It's a franchise.
He's like a local guy. Lima, Ohio, or Bluffton is where he's from originally, and he has 14 restaurants around Northwest Ohio. So I worked at one of his. They were called Speedy Arches. That was his LLC of his group of McDonald's. But he
Huh.
what they would do is not every McDonald's does this, but we were fortunate enough and his McDonald's do well enough and were clean enough and made enough of a profit that you could at the end of your shift or at your break you would get a free meal. So I would always get the large sweet tea when I was a manager and like a double quarter pounder with cheese and a medium fry for free. I gained 0 pounds in my entirety of working McDonald's. It was incredible. I don't know how the teenage
I feel
body
like you
manages
have
to do
good
that.
metabolism, honestly.
Yeah, I got a pretty quick metabolism, but that was the craziest thing. It's like working at McDonald's for 2.5 years, gained not a single pound.
All right, so I was gonna go with a Jamie. Can you pull that up? But I just Googled it. Cost to open a McDonald's franchise: $1,008,000 to $2,214,080 is the average cost. So I wonder how quickly he can make that money back. Like, especially being like in a small town like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure because he did that in the 80s, I believe. So it was probably, well, of course it was a lot cheaper with inflation, but
Yeah.
but still, I mean, to get 14 of those, I think it's because he focused on cleanliness. And 80s was when you really had that boom because for McDonald's because no one knew of the health risks of it and everything. I mean, kind of the same trajectory that cigarettes has, I feel like, with McDonald's, except they rebranded a little bit and kind of prevented themselves from that. But I haven't watched the McMillions. I think it's the one about Ray Kroc or whatever. But apparently,
the founder. Yeah, I actually watched that a few weeks ago.
Really? Because isn't there something like the way they set those up? The way they set up these McDonald's franchises is they make the person who wants to do their own franchise. They put all the liability and all the risk onto them, and McDonald's just gets to profit because they just profit share with them. They take some of the money and put it into corporate, but they put all the onus on you with like the loans and all that stuff. So it's almost zero risk. And what happens if these places fail, then corporate just comes in and buys it up, and then McDonald's is more of a real estate company than it is a fast food joint, from what I remember.
Exactly, and that was kind of the point of the movie. And honestly, at times the movie kind of painted Ray Kroc to be like this like bad guy that was like taking money from the guys that initially started McDonald's. But in the end, you realize like they would be nothing without what he did. Like they would not be McDonald's that we know today. Like for sure.
Oh yeah, that's like I feel like that's a modern thing to do, or very in the past maybe like 6 years, to just shit all over anyone who's a successful capitalist. There are greedy capitalists, but then there are like shitty ones. But yeah, what you said, I think it is an apt observation. At least that's what the McDonald's propaganda training taught me, is that Ray Kroc was a great guy. 1954 out in, what was it, Kansas. He was
I believe so, yeah.
He was a milkshake machine salesman. And then he decided to invest in these guys and took their name and went big with it. So,
yeah. And like that whole like little, I don't know, I guess you wouldn't really call it a documentary because I mean it's like a reenactment of like what went down. Kind of like Moneyball, which comes out on Netflix tomorrow. I'm excited for that
Oh, damn.
because I finally get to watch it. But um, yeah, like sort of. I'm losing my own words here.
No, you're good, man. We'll give you time.
This might be a part that needs to be edited out.
We'll see. We'll see. My new editing style is no editing except the beginning.
All right.
Yeah, but Moneyball, kind of losing the train of thought as well. Here, we'll move on. We'll move on from it. If you pops back up, we'll loop around. But speaking of kind of capitalists, and I don't know, inherent to that is kind of self-motivation and everything. There is the idea of starting your own venture, kind of like the Couple of Joes podcast, I would say. You have some experience in this. You started your own publication for engineering applications or applied sciences. Do you want to give us a little bit of background of Integral Magazine?
Yes, I mean, how much background do you want? Because I could ramble all day about this.
Hey, man, the floor is yours. I'm interviewing you. Whatever you want to talk about, let's open it up and base off of that.
Yeah, so it started, I co-opted, for those of you who don't know who are listening, for a company called Balluff Incorporated in Florence, Kentucky. And essentially, at the end of every co-op semester, we would have to give a presentation on what work we did for the whole semester in front of pretty much every employee or every office employee, all the marketing people, all the engineers, all the sales people, vice president, CEO, everybody was there. Like all the top dogs, you know. So essentially, I got emailed from Jennifer, who at the time was running the Balluff blog website. And she was like, hey, I really liked your presentation. Would you like to do a write-up on like the research you've done this semester, which was a lot about magnetostrictive transducers and things like that. A lot of how magnets behave with electricity.
Okay.
You can maybe post a link in the description to one of my articles. But
yeah.
Either way, she was like, do you want to do a write-up? I'm like, yeah, I'd love that. So I did that, and then I did another one, and I kind of realized that I really liked writing. And there have been times that I'd considered like going into being a technical writer rather than a pure engineer. But, you know, I kind of started Integral as sort of a hobby and kind of a resume builder and just something to do when I'm bored, to be honest. Like, it's fun. I get to learn new things. And I feel like, I guess the best way I could put it is to be able to explain something to somebody else, like, you increase your own understanding of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, because it's I mean, I get the same kind of feeling. Well, maybe I get the same type of feeling, but something that I would equate to it similar to me is when I interact with co-ops. So I do a little bit like the interviewing, and then I've been a mentor in the past to co-op students. And when you explain something and it clicks for them and they're able to understand it, that feels really, really good. And also, yeah, what you said is you're finally rationalizing things, because when you talk to like a coworker who is a peer or someone who is more experienced than you, they want the information, they want the bottom line of what you're working on, but they're not really curious about how you got there most of the time, as long as they have that trust built. So you don't honestly not ever, but it's very rare that you get a chance to actually explain your thought process and why you did something. And also it kind of gets you excited, be like, oh yeah, I did do this. It gives you a chance to reflect, because you're so constantly like chasing the next goal that you miss out on what you've actually achieved. So that's interesting.
Exactly. And like I said, and like you just said, it gives you more opportunity to learn. And another thing I found while I was doing a lot of research on magnetostriction and AMR bridges and magnetic field sensors and things like that, like you have this weird mix of like basically a pamphlet from a company like, hey, check out our new sensor. Here's how fast it is. Here's why it's better than the competitors. But you don't really understand how it works. Like, it's very surface level, generic. And then you have like these peer reviewed articles that are written by some PhD student who just wants their advisor to sign off on
Right.
their dissertation,
Yeah.
and there's very little in between. That's kind
Yep.
of like what I came up with Integral, my tagline: bridging the gap between information and applications in engineering and technical fields. It's kind of what I'm trying to present, is like bringing technical information, but also here's how you can actually use it. That's kind of the goal with the website.
Right, and that's super helpful because again, kind of a gap that I see is after you leave schooling and you enter the professional field. Again, there's not a whole lot of information that you can gather outside that's readily available that would expand your knowledge outside of what you're doing day to day.
Yeah. I mean, it comes from experience, and that's kind of what I try to put into this. And I mean, I've been thinking about branching out into like more case study sort of stuff,
Okay.
even non-engineering related things. Like, so I'll tell you one that I've actually already been working on. Um, the difference between coronavirus Instagram posts, like how often people post when they go out with their friends versus years past. And I've already been taking data on this to prepare for the article. I don't know if I'm actually going to do that
Okay.
because I haven't really decided yet,
Yeah.
but I was thinking about doing a lot more case study type stuff like that.
Huh. No, that's a cool idea because then yeah, again, you can use an application, and if you use any kind of like data amalgamating software or data interpreting software, then you can also kind of explain that experience there, and that gives you another technical background or an expansion on your technical background and the
Yeah.
ability to talk on that as well. Is so I guess another site that I've used in the past that sounds similar, but I would just kind of like get your thought on this. Is IEEE, like Spectrum? Is that something similar? Was that inspiration, or is that, would you consider them maybe like a competitor or something, or how do you look at IEEE Spectrum if you're aware of them?
No, I consider them more academic, honestly. If I had to call anybody a competitor, I mean, I get 10 views a week on my website. Again, shout out everybody, integralpublication.com. Go look at it,
Check it out.
everybody listening. But that's more of an academic website because I'm a member of IEEE. Um, if I had to consider anybody a competitor, it would be like allaboutcircuits.com
Okay.
or electronicdesign.com. Like, those are where I got a lot of my inspiration. And like I said, a lot of it came from, getting the experience to write for Balif and talk about my work and be like, oh, shit, I really like this.
Yeah. Huh. So how many contributors do you have? Is it just you that's writing articles, or do you have multiple people that contribute it? I imagine since it's 10 views per week that you don't have a staff or anything.
I don't know if it's actually 10 views per week. I actually have just released a few new articles recently. I've finally gotten back into writing regularly.
Okay.
So the views have picked up a bit, but yeah, right now just me, and shout out to Chris Morris, who has been on this podcast before.
Yeah, we had a very interesting conversation about quantum physics.
I liked more when he went into Tinder girls. That was the more interesting part of that conversation for me. I remember I was waiting to get my hair cut. I was sitting outside of Great Clips waiting for them to call me because it was like just at the start of pandemic.
Right.
So they wouldn't let me sit in the store. They made me go wait in my car, and I was listening to you guys, and I was just dying at what he was saying about Tinder girls.
I forget. Yeah, that was a good conversation. That podcast lasted quite a long time. It was very fun.
Yeah, that was a good one. Chris Chris is one of those guys that doesn't know when he needs to dumb things down or when, like, sometimes he'll oversimplify things and sometimes he'll say shit that, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no clue what the fuck you're talking about. You know way more than me about this.
Yep. He's fun. He's also one of those guys that doesn't know how funny he is. He's just naturally funny without trying.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. Love him to death.
Where's he at right now? Is he at his parents or is he in Washington?
So last time I talked with him, that was back at Hawking Hills a few weeks ago. He said he was about ready to head back down to DC, but he's able to do most of his work remote, so he was staying there as long as possible.
Good way to save that's money. What I would have figured.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so you have two contributors then. So what is the rate that you release content?
So I went through about a year. So when I lived in Houston, for everybody that is listening that doesn't know, I'm back in Cincinnati, Ohio now. I lived in Houston for about 15 months. We got so busy with work. I mean, we're talking 85, 90-hour weeks. Yeah, it's rough, especially traveling. I went a long time without posting, and now I've got a lot of drafts saved up that I'm working on. Like I said, I'm about halfway through an article right now. I'm having trouble figuring out how to simulate capacitance over a variable period of time in LT Spice, but once I figure that out, this new article will be released.
Okay.
But it's hard to give an average. Like, when I really get going, I'd say I do like one a week, but there have been big drop-offs in between, and I'm trying to pick that up.
Okay. So how often would you say your articles are dealing with actual applications that you are undergoing or experiencing while at work, or are investigations and theories that you learn in the classroom but you never got a chance to further explore while you were at school?
Honestly, I would say it's nearly 100% applications that I've actually experienced, whether it be on a project at school or at work. Because honestly, I'm more intimidated by the thought of just going into something that I have no clue what I'm talking about. Like, things where I have a vague idea, like, yeah, I sort of know how this works. I just got to do a bit more research. I feel like I could be comfortable doing an article on that, but like, there have been so many ideas I've had that, like, I guess I would say I've thought of, but kind of was like, no, I don't know enough about that yet to really talk about it. And the interesting thing is, I mean, while my background is electrical engineering, I mean, pretty much at this point by trade, I start my new job Monday. I'm basically a controls engineer at this point. I'm primarily a PLC and HMI programmer. So I have no articles on any of those types of topics, which is kind of weird. And I need to start working toward that. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm seeing for the future, and as well as getting more contributors to the website, which, I mean, if I were talking to an engineer right now, too bad I'm not, that wanted to write for my website, too bad I'm not.
I'm picking up on your hint.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
When's the article coming, Justin?
When's the article coming? I've been working on this software with this software. It's called VSA. It's a 3D tolerance analysis software, and it's a Siemens product. And Siemens is notorious at keeping all of their information locked down like crazy. It costs $4,000 to go to one training for this software. And I have a lot of experience on it, and there's not a whole lot of people in the industry that have that. So I want to look into if there's restrictions on that, but that would be something that I would be curious into looking at, because it is an application that is going to be very it's going to be heavily relied upon as we get more and more precise with engineering, especially in like aerospace and medical applications and anything with a system, so automobiles as well. So I can write something for you, which kind of leads me to my...
All right, everyone listening, we have that on record. Justin just said he would write something for me.
All right, yep.
I'll put your picture on the contributors page.
Okay, cool. That works. Put the podcast in there as well. We'll do some incestuous cross streaming.
I'll do that tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I like incest. That's nice.
Yeah. Me too. Game of Thrones really got me into that whole thing. We also have Trans in the chat, so if you want to do a special shout out to him right now to get him to write an article as well.
Shout out Tran. You want to get published? You want a resume builder? integralpublication.com. Send me something. You can write about whatever you want, as long as it's not too ridiculous.
We'll see if he replies here. This is going to be on YouTube and everything, and Spotify, so I think my word is locked down, unless I go back and edit that out, but with my my ambition of editing, probably not going to happen, so it's on the record.
Wait, you guys are posting YouTube now?
Yeah, so with...
I did not even see that.
I guess there's a plug, because I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast at all. Since I record in Streamlabs, I get the video recording of what I'm streaming, so I just upload that right away. After I'm done, I just upload it to YouTube and write the description then. So we have a couple episodes. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 are up there, and then episode 52 and 53, and then this one will be up there, and then every subsequent episode. So it's youtube.com/CupleofJoes or Couple of Joes podcast. Just search Couple of Joes podcast, CUPLE, and you'll find it. But it's the same format essentially. Now my pretty little face will be in the episodes. So that's kind of how that's gonna go. But yeah, enough plug. We'll move on here. I guess my next question would be, though, kind of dealing with the writing process, since you did kind of loop me into that, and I've been curious about this because I've thought about writing in other aspects of my life as well. What's your writing process look like? How do you go about finally setting pen to paper? Because I feel like that's the hardest part.
Yes, I mean, I guess the first thing is coming up with a concept that I feel like I'm familiar with, but that through doing more research I can learn more about. And this kind of goes back to what I already said, which was like when you can explain something to somebody else, like you increase your own understanding of it. Mm-hmm. So I kind of start with stuff like that. Like, so the current series I'm working on, titled How Any Physical System Can Be Represented by an Electrical Network. Part 1, Kinetic Mechanical Forces versus Ohm's Law. And I'll give you the title of Part 2, Mechanical Energy versus Electrical Capacitance. So basically showing how you can simulate a mechanical system electrically. Like, that's something that I had a little bit of familiarity with, mm-hmm. but still had to kind of refresh myself on. And I guess that's sort of what I look for when I start writing, is something that I know something about, but I feel like I could learn more. And I learn more through the process of the research and the writing. So that's primarily, I guess, how I start the process.
Okay, interesting. So when you actually go to sit down, then is it usually you get your entire draft of at least the content, or is it span multiple weeks when to actually get from the first sentence that you write to your last sentence?
Oh, that's very dependent. I mean, the one I'm working on now, like I said, right now I'm trying to figure out how to variable capacitor in LT Spice so I can run my simulations correctly for this new article. But like the last one I did, which was part one of this series, I think I probably sat down at around 4 or 5 o'clock and wrote.
I lose you. No, in the middle of a good thought. Technical difficulties. Throw it to technical difficulties. I need to create a technical difficulty banner. Do 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 do. We lost Aaron. He will be back shortly, I believe. He happened to drop.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right. Damn it. Where'd I cut off?
You had just said you sat down at 4 or 5 today?
No, this was a couple days ago when
Okay.
the first part of this series came out ago. First part of the series came out, I meant. But yeah, I was saying like sometimes I can just like run through it and it'll be like a few hours and I can have content up, and it depends on how long it takes me to make the diagrams. Honestly, the writing's pretty easy because I know what I'm going to say. I know the basic principles typically behind like the ideas I'm talking about, but creating the actual figures and the charts and whatnot, that's usually the part that takes longer. So, like I said, before I cut out, the like case study type stuff, like the Instagram, like monitoring, like how people have been going out during coronavirus for past years and how often they post like pictures with their friends out at bars and things like that. Like, and kind of doing a study on that. Like, I've had that draft sitting in my website for like probably over a month. So,
Okay.
it really just depends on the topic.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, since you brought the Instagram case study up again, how are you conducting that? Is your sample or your population that you've picked just your friends, or are you actually going on like Discover pages and just selecting random people and seeing how they change? Because I feel like that's an interesting aspect of that.
Yeah, and that was something I was concerned about too, was trying to do anything I could to avoid being biased in my study and the data that I was collecting from that. And it's kind of a mix of the two. So I started going through my own followers. However, what I would do was click on their followers and click random ass people that I don't know.
Okay.
And then start going through their posts. So that way it could be unbiased. But they were like normal people. Because like my Discover page, sometimes it'll be fitness people. Sometimes
Yeah.
it'll be like, those pictures of like, like it'll be like Popeyes, McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, and say you have to choose one, like that kind of garbage you see on your Discover page on Instagram,
Yep.
or like memes and stuff. So I wanted to avoid all that. So I wanted to go through normal people. So I just started clicking through this person's followers, this person's followers, this person's followers, like that. So I really feel like I did a good job getting normal people.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Because definitely, if you pick someone who is an influencer, there's going to be a little bit of a that doesn't represent the normal population. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Like
huh.
some fitness model Instagram thought,
Yeah, exactly. So what statistics are you tracking? Are you tracking like frequency or in locations of posts and et cetera, or kind of what are the variables that you're looking at?
Not location, primarily male versus female and frequency.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Because immediately when you said that, I it makes me think kind of what is the quality of the type of photos? Like what kind of categories can you section people off into? Maybe you look at, hey, the rate of bikini photos has dropped off with coronavirus, and the rate of gaming setups has increased, or things of like hobby related have increased, but social contact have decreased. It's just because from
That'd
my
be
oh, sorry.
See, that's something I need to think about before I release that article. Do I want to go that in depth with that intense of information? Because that'd be hard to classify all those types of things.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because then you're kind of getting outside of um
Just
like
pure statistics.
pure statistical information where you're looking at pure numbers and you're adding a qualitative aspect to it, which makes things infinitely harder because then you have to just cut some certain things off. It's like when you read a medical study or a medical publication on any topic, there are qualitative aspects to it, like where we're cutting out people with a certain weight, which you can put to a quantification, but there are different areas that you have to kind of qualify out and understand your assumptions there. So that's just, and it also, that's kind of interesting. The reason why I brought that up is because from my own follower base, I've noticed differences, right? People who I follow who are more extroverted, they tended to have kind of waned with the coronavirus and the amount that they post, but people who are introverted, and especially over like our crazy summer with the Black Lives Matter movement being massive, and with some of the other social issues going on in the United States, that more introverted people tended to post. It was interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I'd say that was an observation for sure. Definitely less of my extroverted friends posting, more of my introverted friends posting. I think it was a really introverted time for people to shine. But I don't know if the data would show that, if that's just my population that I'm looking at here.
That's interesting. I need to look more into it. I mean, like I said, I'm still working on that, and I need to get a bigger sample size for sure.
Okay, yeah. Well, but speaking of kind of, well, civil unrest, political kind of ties into that as well, but not getting into that whole thing. But I know you are a big Kanye fan, so I want to get your take on Mr. West's dive into politics and his presidential campaign thus far.
Okay, yeah, I knew this was coming.
Had to do
All
it.
right. Say about the greatest artist of our generation. I don't think he's super serious about this. And I don't know. One thing I've noticed is there's a girl I went to high school with who repeatedly posts on her Instagram story. It's kind of ironic in a way I'm gonna sidetrack myself here a little bit.
Sure.
Like, she'll post all these like Black Lives Matter type things, and then like a picture of like her like ridiculous brunch she's having, and I'm like, if this isn't fucking white privilege, but you want to pretend to care when it's convenient for you,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
no, like, that's okay. But she posted something about how you shouldn't write in Kanye, and shout out Matt Miller. He just sent me a Snapchat a few hours ago. Kanye is on the ballot in Colorado, if you did not know that.
Hell yeah, man. Democracy.
Yeah.
He's in New York as
But
well. Yeah.
yeah, I think he's in like 7 states. But she posted a Snapchat or an Instagram story about how you shouldn't vote for Kanye because, I mean, obviously most of his listeners are going to be liberal. Like, I mean, I definitely lean more liberal, obviously, but it's going to steal votes away from Biden. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe the Democratic Party should have voted in somebody that was actually that people wanted to vote for.
Yeah.
Because, you know what? I love Kanye, and I'm willing to waste my vote on him. I know it's a waste of a vote, but yeah.
Yeah, it's it's unfortunate. That's kind of a apt point that you brought up. The Democratic Party has a tendency to put people forward that are the safest candidate and not that our generation really identifies with. That's why I end up with people like Hillary Clinton and then Joe Biden. After Obama just like set the bar so high for most Democrats our age. It's kind of interesting.
I would suck a dick to have Obama back.
Dude, yeah. I was thinking back just based on this election, to my old stances on politics, like back when I was in high school, and I was such a big Obama hater just because it was all that was around. It was all I was surrounded with in my area growing up.
Definitely where you're from.
Yep, from where I can imagine. And then I think about it, it's like, no, after I got into college and I actually kind of learned to appreciate, and then after this presidency, it's like anything next to that looks good. But then I remember the speech that Obama gave after the election was one of the most powerful speeches I ever listened to. And I watched the debates like crazy this year, or the debate, sorry. Well, the VP debate as well. But then on my YouTube recommended, I was getting stuff like the 2012 debate and the 2008 debate and all that. And you watch it, and it's like, wow, man, things have changed so much. And I come from an area that is funny with their beliefs. We'll just say that much. And to see how
I believe that Northern Ohio.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was this, just to kind of like go off on a tangent a little bit. There was a video I was watching. It was ABC. Their YouTube comments are the craziest things ever. There's all kinds of right winged and QAnon conspiracy theories going on in there. It's nuts, dude. Look, if you have free time sometime, go into YouTube, look up an ABC political video, read the comments. Absolutely nuts. People are going at each other in there. People are grandstanding. It's really, really crazy. But anyway, I was watching this video, and it was of the 2008 one of John McCain's election, like town hall type things, and it was in a more rural community. And I don't remember this because I was too young, but there was this lady who like got the microphone, and she said, "I don't want that Arab in here." And John McCain grabs the microphone from her. He goes, "He is one of the nicest men I have ever served with, and we have slight differences in how we want to do things, and that's why I'm running this year. He is not an Arab. He is a nice man." And I was like, holy shit, dude, that is such a 180 from where we're at right now. It was mind-blowing to watch. And also, John McCain, man, shout out to that guy. He's a badass. I didn't know that much about him. Honestly, you just hear about all the stink pieces that people write and what you see in the news after he fails an election. But the guy was a stand-up person. And
he absolutely was. He was the last great Republican.
Yeah. The last non-hypocrite Mitt Romney's shown himself to be pretty decent right now.
Just curious. Yeah, Mitt Romney, I have stood behind him recently because he's gone against Bozo a lot. But, you know, it, just curious, have you ever watched Larry Fitzgerald's speech at John McCain's funeral?
I did not, but I respect the hell out of Larry Fitzgerald, so I imagine it's got to be good.
It is so good, dude. You have to watch that video.
I'll write that down here.
And you should put that in the description for this podcast, too, so that the listeners can see it, because it's so, like, heartwarming and nice. Like, it's great.
Yeah, it just I remember, because I remember the rhetoric from the 2008 election, because like the rhetoric is what sticks by, not a lot of the details and a lot of like the people, but there was like was an American Dad or a Family Guy joke where they had a button and it was Hitler Palin or something like that. They were comparing Biden to Hitler. And then I hear him speak, and I'm like, this is one of the most soft-spoken, well-mannered men I've ever seen. He does not remind me of Hitler at all. It was really interesting that was made, but everyone gets so political during these times that they'll assassinate anyone's character. So that's crazy. Okay.
There's that one meme of the little girl laying in bed reading a book, and the book is titled "Everyone on the Internet That Disagrees with Me Is Literally Hitler."
Pretty much, man. You go into Reddit comments or ABC News comments for sure, and that's what you kind of get the perception to be. It's like if well, it's the same thing of I don't know if you've ever seen like articles on AI when different countries release AI. So when Germany released their own AI, it became very pro-fascism, brought up Hitler all the time, brought up the Holocaust all the time. When they made an AI like a Cortana version or whatever to kind of
What
respond.
year would this have been?
Oh, this was maybe like 2015, 2016 era, 2017, and kind of in that range. And then China did one as well, and it became anti-communist and pro-democracy. And then the Americans did it, and I think they started calling like Americans stupid, and again bringing up the Holocaust and like Hitler and stuff like that. Basically, it takes, they would use algorithms that would look at YouTube comments or internet comments, and it would base off of that. But what it became is the way the reward system was programmed was off of attention. And the things that got the most attention was off of negative comments, right? Inflammatory comments. So whatever is the most inflammatory in that area becomes the identity of that AI. So yeah, and China became pro-democracy. It's just kind of funny to see because that's kind of what happens on the internet too, is the more inflammatory your comment, the more of a reaction you get out of people.
Yeah. It's sort of like an ant community where they all just sort of gather together, I feel like.
Yeah, it's
in a way.
It's groupthink. There's interesting psychology behind it.
Yeah.
Oh,
but no, I'm going to pull up that Larry Fitzgerald video. You can edit this part out, but I'm going to send that to you just so you can see it for sure.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. I got it written down. I will keep that on there. Throw it into the Discord on like oh yeah, by the way, we have a Discord now. So hit up
I'm in the Discord.
Yeah. No, I'm talking to the viewers right now, or the listeners.
Oh, okay.
We got a Discord, y'all. Check it out. Go to our Instagram, email us, get a hold of me, probably is the best way to get the link for it, because I think they expire. So I won't be posting it in descriptions because they invitations to Discords disappear after 24 hours. But appreciate you guys listening. And if you want to join the community, feel free to do so. We will have discussions about topics, discussions over the coffees. They will be posted. So we have a channel on coffee reviews, ideas and feedback for the podcast, events, general chat. Some of the listeners, some of my friends, we game. So we have a couple channels for that as well. as well as kind of announcements to see. Just another channel. Discord's very community driven, so if you like the content and are like-minded, it's probably the best place to hold a discussion with us.
So what are you thinking in regards to events? I have to ask you that. I was curious about that.
That is a default channel that pops up when you do Discord. I don't have any plans, to be frank. I might, what I would like to do at some point is, I got to put my pop filter back on. What I would like to do at some point is to, I don't know if this ties into an event, but it ties into something. I need to figure out some kind of website or some kind of way to track in Excel that auto updates of merch. So I want to like announce a hat. I've shown the merch very early on, like when we maybe 5 episodes in
I
or
remember
something
that.
like that. Yeah, but the issue with that is if I want to buy a quantity that makes it affordable for me to buy a massive amount and then sell and then make a little bit of money back to put back into the podcast or even to break even, there's quite a number of hats that I have to buy. And I don't want to do that because that's money that I have to put out of pocket up front to get those and then kind of take the risk of not selling them. So I want to create some kind of like tallying or maybe a survey monkey or something like that for people who come along and say, yes, I will buy one of these, and then give me their contact information so that when I hit a certain number, say if I hit 10 and I order 10 hats or hit 20 and I order 20 hats, then I know I'm going to be able to make the money back and recoup my losses because that's a good amount of cash that I have to put up front that's not easy to come by.
Personal opinion, I'd rather have a t-shirt. I'd rep that. I was actually looking at the meme outpost. Shout out Chris again. I was actually looking at his shirts on Redbubble the other day. I'm going to get one of those. Finally got a job now.
There you go, man.
Coronavirus isn't over, but was able to get a job anyway.
Hell yeah. Congratulations, man. Congrats. No, but Chris is on Redbubble. I didn't know he had shirts up there. Is that kind of how that works? You just kind of buy them. You don't have to actually order the shirts themselves?
I don't really know exactly how it works. You would have to ask him.
Yeah, I'll have to
I guess. I guess you just kind of submit your design and it puts like the generic like logo over like their basic like stock photo models, like the man and the woman. So I guess that's how it works.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, because I would do something similar to what that hat was and just do a super simplistic, minimalistic design. Maybe just a nice base T-shirt with a pocket, and then the cups or the mugs or something on the pocket. Or I don't know if you listen to this episode, but we have the quote of the guy when Grant and I took the Uber downtown Cincinnati. The guy said, "I don't know about y'all, but those buildings make me feel like fucking." I want to put that on a T-shirt because that's absolutely hilarious.
That is good. Nobody's gonna get that joke except you, but
yeah, I know. That's why it's funny to me because no one will know except for me, and I find that entirely hilarious.
That is pretty good though,
dude. Oh man, this guy. We were going downtown, meeting up with some buddies, and he started telling us about how he was having sex with his ex-girlfriend and cucking the current boyfriend, and how he would text her and just say all this stuff, and how the reason why they broke up in the first place because she cheated on him, and going into way too much detail. And he just would not stop talking about how souped up his car was and all this stuff. And then we get downtown.
What car was it?
Dude, it was like a Nissan. It had a decent, no, it was a Cadillac, and it had a decent system in it. It sounded pretty good because Grant was commenting on the system since he's a aficionado on that, as well as
an audiophile.
Yeah, and we get downtown and we pull up and we're going off of 2nd Street exit back up into downtown, and he looks at the buildings. He goes, "Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but those buildings make me feel like fucking." I was like, "What are you talking about, dude?" We had to hold it in. At that point, it's uncomfortable because of how much detail and how open he was being, and it was just nutty, dude. So nutty.
Oh my God. Dude, I don't think I've had an Uber or a Lyft since I've been back in Cincinnati. No, I have. But in Houston, it was always people that like barely spoke English. So like there was never that much talking.
Gotcha. Yeah, because, well, Houston's just massive. So,
I mean, the most diverse city in the country.
is it really?
Yeah.
Huh. So did you move back before quarantine, or you moved back during quarantine, didn't you? Like the
Right
very
at the
beginning?
start of it, yeah.
Oh, geez. How was that?
Better now that I know I have a job, so
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good, man. That's glad to hear. Glad to hear. Glad to hear. Because that's been it's been 6 months since we recorded that last episode. Actually, more than that. It's been about 7 months.
oof. Is it really that long ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
I've
I
been.
think that was before we started realizing how bad this was actually going to get.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was I believe when we recorded that. That was a week after my work got. I had to work from home because I remember having a little bit of anxiety over people coming into my house or into my apartment, just like a slight amount. Not anxiety, but a concern about it. I was conscious of it, and I had a bunch of quarantine specials because that's when I recorded the episode with Drew, a guy that
Yeah.
lives in Cincinnati from the area, and then Chris as well, and then Bacchus and everything. So I did all yours really close, and it was before I moved up back to my parents for a month, and it was before all of that. So that was in March yet. That was like right at the very beginning. My God, dude, the world. I feel like I've aged 2 years since then.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, I immediately moved back here, got a job, and they basically, it was kind of presented as a controls engineering job. Like, I thought I'd be a programmer, like my normal stuff, like blah, blah, blah. And they just wanted an AutoCAD monkey. So I left that real quick, like less than a month, thinking, like, oh, I'll get another job real quick. Because I mean,
Yep.
I had another offer at the time, and I had like 4 interviews in like a week and a half. And then that was immediately when shit shut down, and the phone calls just stopped happening. Like, no interviews, no anything, like, nothing. It sucked so bad until a few weeks ago.
Right. Yeah. No. I noticed the same thing, just kind of in general with things going on, and like what friends have said that work at other companies, saying that finally hiring is starting back up again. But I honestly feel like it means more to be hired now than it does when like the economy is doing super well, because it's a testament to your ability, because they're much more selective with their candidates at like during times like this. So that's awesome that you're able to find something quick on the rebound. Quick on the rebound of
That's
the
true.
economy, that is the hiring economy, not necessarily with coronavirus in general, because this has been forever, it feels like.
Yeah. I don't know how long this can keep going. I mean, I bought a nice mask from Walgreens, so I'll just keep wearing that. I probably need to wash it now, but
Yeah, I got to wash
yeah.
mine. I went to my place where I work, and went to my desk, and they'd given all of us like 10 masks or something like that. Of I think the state of Ohio handed out a bunch of masks. I have a
Just
camera.
those like standard like blue surgical ones.
No, they're like these white cloth masks. They're super thin, and they have elastic bands coming off them. And they just have this little rubber piece that you can use to cinch it closer to your ears and whatnot. But they're
Oh,
they're they're decent quality. They kind of drop down a little bit, but this is what the state of Ohio. You can't see it, but the viewers can here. Of this mask. So yeah, that's what's going on there. But that's nice. I bought an Under Armour one too because I wanted to work out in a mask, but then the gym that I go to uses infrared thermometers, and so I've been able to circumvent that a little bit.
Do they do the thing where they just like put that scanner on your forehead?
They actually have an infrared camera that they use, and so they read your temperature there. But if you wear a sweatshirt, it doesn't work correctly. So they'll take the actual one that you're talking about and scan your forehead.
Huh. That's weird. But the Under Armour one you mentioned, is that like one of the gaiters that like you see a lot of baseball players using?
I'm not sure because I don't really watch baseball, but it's a good quality. It's easy
It's
to
like
breathe
one
out
of
of.
like the full neck ones. It's like a turtleneck kind of thing that like you pull up over your nose and mouth.
No, this one's an actual mask. I know what you're talking about. Those gaiters. That's what I should have paid. Yeah, you said gator and it didn't register in my mind. Grant and I talked about these actually on Sunday. So my little brother uses them as well.
Sorry, I haven't caught up with podcasts lately.
Oh, no worries, no worries. We haven't released that one yet.
Too much Call Her Daddy to listen to.
Yeah. I've never listened to that one. Is that pretty good?
Wait, do you not know anything about that podcast?
I know about it. I've never listened to it before.
Oh. I would say about their first 10 to 15 episodes were good. Then the content got really repetitive, I guess I would say. But, yeah. Shout out Barstool Sports, sponsor of this podcast.
Yeah. Big sponsor. I was also drinking Coca-Cola earlier, so Coke is also a sponsor. We only have 3 viewers, but we already got the Coca-Cola sponsorship, so the bag has been secured. I am now a millionaire. All right. Well, I am about mentally drained. I don't know about you. So I don't know if you have any other topics, but if you don't have any, I think we can go ahead and go into closing.
Yeah, I'm fine to go into closing.
Cool. Well, Aaron, I just want to thank you for your patience first off, because the first episode that we recorded got thrown out because I didn't know how to operate my microphone correctly. And then it's been 6 months since we recorded that last one, and I've been making promises to get you on for quite a while and just haven't followed through. So I appreciate your patience, and I also appreciate you coming on and talking about Integral Magazine. If you want to give the plug one more time.
integralpublication.com. Like, share, subscribe. Go on and read my articles. We're going to have a lot more content coming soon. I've got a lot of ideas, so everyone check that out.
Yeah. And we thank you for coming on and doing a coffee review as well. And like I had mentioned, YouTube is up if you just search the same name that we've been using here. We also have a Discord, so if you'd like to be a part of the Couple of Joes community, get in on the coffee reviews. We're going to be posting the actual links to where you can buy the coffee and try it for yourself for any given week. I guess we will be posting McDonald's coffee for this one, but you know where McDonald's are. There's one always within about a mile, I think, in most places.
You occasionally find one.
Yeah, you'll see them.
They kind of come up out of nowhere.
They're scattered about. But anyways, thanks everyone for listening. Any of the viewers on Twitch, we appreciate this experiment, and we will see you in the near future.
Goodbye.
There we go. Alrighty.